what's in the box?
The year was 1981. President Reagan got shot, MTV got launched, and a Hollywood copywriter named John J.B. Wilson was inspired by a double feature of Can't Stop the Music and Xanadu to hold a post-Oscars award ceremony in his living room to award the worst films of the past year instead of the best. 35 years later, the Golden Raspberry Awards have gone from a silly potluck to one of the most well-known authorities on the worst movies to come out of Hollywood. But, like any award show, the Razzies have been accused more than once of getting it wrong more than they've gotten it right, of making fun of misunderstood movies that flop at the box office instead of actually poking fun at the truly awful movies to come out each year. Though this is a topic that's infinitely debatable, there are definitely some decisions by the Razzie Committee that leave you scratching your head. And I, Jesse Shade, am going to pick the top 10 Razzie nominations and one Razzie winner that left us all truly baffled. So, without further ado, Jobo.com and Awfully Good Movies proudly present the top 10 worst Razzie nominations! Number 10, Last Action Hero, for pretty much every Razzie nomination it got in 1993. Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst New Star, and especially the nomination given to AC/DC's Big Gun for Worst Original Song. Seriously, saying an AC/DC song is one of the worst of the year is like killing a person. How can you live with that shame and that guilt? But I digress. Even though this metafictional Schwarzenegger vehicle was considered an Ishtar-sized flop after it went up against Jurassic Park that summer and lost, this movie is not worst of the year material then or now. Sure, it's silly at points, but when you have a movie about a kid getting sucked into an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where the T-1000 exists in the same universe as a cartoon cat with the voice of Danny DeVito, what do you expect? No, it's not the brilliant satire of action movies that it was hyped up to be, but as an Arnold movie, it is everything you'd want. Big explosions, lots of people getting shot, and Arnold cracking jokes. Along with Dread, Edge of Tomorrow, and even Ishtar. This flick goes to show that just because your movie doesn't make a ton of money, doesn't mean your movie isn't a ton of fun. Number 9. Harvey Keitel for Worst Supporting Actor in The Last Temptation of Christ. While Martin Scorsese was going up for the Best Director Oscar for his insanely controversial retelling of The Life of Christ, one of his actors, Harvey Keitel, was going up for a Razzie as Worst Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Judas. I mean, not that Harvey didn't half-ass his performance or fail to give Judas any depth. No. He did that. It's just that he portrayed the character with his native New York accent.
Romans can't find anybody to make crosses except for you! You do it!
Newsflash, Razzies. All of the actors playing Jews in that movie use their native accents.
Love one another.
Maybe that's good advice, but for some other world, these people are starving.
In fact, that was a deliberate directorial choice made by Scorsese. So why isn't he getting nominated for a Razzie? Or any of the other actors in that flick who were just doing what they were told? It's a baffling criticism against what is considered to be one of Scorsese's most emotionally wrenching movies. But Keitel thankfully lost to Dan Aykroyd for Caddyshack 2. But still, how does an accomplished actor in a Scorsese movie get lumped into the same boat as this?
Will you please suck out the poison for me?
Not a goddamn clue. Number 8, Danny DeVito for Worst Supporting Actor in Batman Returns. Now I understand the criticisms that have been lobbied against Tim Burton's second Batman movie over the years, what with the tone being insanely dark and Batman breaking his rule of not killing people just for the sake of a stupid joke, but I still have enough reasons to like it. One of them being Michelle Pfeiffer in latex. And another being Danny DeVito's portrayal of Oswald the Penguin Cobblepot. Behind the nose biting and the gushing blood out of his mouth, DeVito does one hell of a job playing an emotionally tortured misfit who only really becomes a villain when society deems him a freak. But just like the citizens of Gotham City, the Razzie voting committee couldn't look beyond, ew, he's gross. Batman villains aren't supposed to be gross. I don't like him. Yes, the Razzie committee are made up of teenage girls. You didn't know that? Anyway, these days, it's okay to consider The Penguin one of DeVito's most gleefully grotesque performances. At least until he would join the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I just wanna be pure.
Number 7, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt as worst screen couple in Interview with the Vampire. This is the only nomination on this list that actually won a Razzie, tying with Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone in The Specialist. But why did it? The movie was a hit, the reviews weren't that bad, and both Cruise and Pitt were generally praised for their portrayals of vampires Lestat and Louis. Was it supposed to be some dumb crack at the expense of Tom Cruise's rumored homosexuality? Since Lestat and Louis hang out together, which I guess makes them come off as a gay couple, which is supposed to be funny, I guess? I don't know. It's been a while since I've rewatched this whole movie, but to the best of my knowledge, there's no particular reason why this movie or those performances deserve this award. I guess it's the same problem that a lot of the Razzie decisions have, making fun of those stupid celebrities instead of judging the actual quality of their work. Number 6. Jim Carrey as Worst New Star for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. The 1990s were a time rife with awful comedians trying to shove themselves down America's throats through awful movies. You had your Pauly Shores, your Carrot Tops, your Andrew Dice Clays, and for some reason, Jim Carrey got lumped in that category back when he officially came onto the movie scene in 1994 with 3 hit comedies that didn't astound critics but were beloved by audiences, while his butt-talking shit got parodied on TV comedies from The Critic,
A shooting star. Make a wish, Dad.
Thank you, God!
to Mystery Science Theater 3000.
You could use this thing to change history.
Oh yeah, we could prevent Newt Gingrich, Jim Carrey, and the Smashing Pumpkins.
But even someone who didn't like Carrey's movies could see that Carrey himself had more talent than your average hack comedian. And he thankfully proved that with his later dramatic work in The Truman Show, Man on the Moon, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So let's just hope Carrey continues the career upswing he's achieved with Dumb and Dumber 2 and keep getting more opportunities to prove those critics wrong.
Thank you for all your cooperation.
Number 5, Leonardo DiCaprio as Worst Actor in The Beach. After the mega success of James Cameron's Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio developed an overnight fan base of teeny bopper girls who eagerly awaited what Leo's next high-profile movie was gonna be. In 2000, they finally got him starring in Danny Boyle's The Beach, where he starred as an American tourist who finds a tropical paradise hidden away from society and slowly becomes dangerously adamant in protecting it. And the results were met with a resounding nope, with both bad reviews and bad box office. But in retrospect, The Beach is actually a pretty solid movie if you give it a chance. And DiCaprio delivers a great performance, which started a new phase in his career of proving to the world that there was far more to him than just a pretty face. But after Titanic, the Razzies weren't having that shit. Number 4, Tom Cruise as Worst Actor in War of the Worlds. Yes, Spielberg's remake of this sci-fi classic suffered from a sea of cliches and one major cop-out of an ending. But I think we can all agree that at least Tom Cruise delivered a great performance in it. I mean, it's Tom Cruise. The dude's not great at picking religions, but he is great at delivering great performances. But in the midst of promoting War of the Worlds in summer 2005, Cruise just had to express his joy of falling in love with Katie Holmes by jumping on couches, picking fights with Matt Lauer and Brooke Shields, and confronting prank-playing reporters on the red carpet. So because of all this media hype, the Razzies felt that Cruise's solid work as an actor should suffer because of his craziness as a person, so he landed a Worst Actor nod.
That's incredibly rude.
Though he would lose the award, the fact that Cruise got nominated at all just goes to show that the Razzies have come to care more about who shows up on E! News all the time instead of which actors truly suck. Don't worry, Tom. As long as you're not talking about body thetans or singing Bon Jovi, we will keep following you into that danger zone, my friend. Number 3, Ennio Morricone for Worst Original Score of The Thing. Today, John Carpenter's 1982 remake of The Thing stands as one of his finest works. But back in 1982, it was released a mere 2 weeks after E.T., and audiences did not want their images of sweet, heavenly aliens sullied by images of ones who tear dogs inside out and chop people's hands off. Still, even with its financial and critical failure back in the day, one of the things people were not hating about the movie was the minimalist soundtrack by the legendary Ennio Morricone. I mean, listen to that. For a horror movie set in the emptiness of the Arctic tundra, that music fits pretty fucking well, don't you think? Either the Razzie Committee is deaf or holds some weird beef against Ennio Morricone because this score getting nominated is a complete travesty. So, to the Razzie voters, I'd like to quote R.J. McCready and say to you,
Fuck you too!
Number 2, Brian De Palma as Worst Director for Dressed to Kill and Scarface. Just like The Thing, Scarface was an 80s remake of a beloved Howard Hawks classic that upped the body count, added a lot of blood, and initially got slammed by critics before it got to be considered a classic. I can understand that the amount of blood and coke-fueled excess must have been shocking for critics who were expecting a much more prestige collaboration between De Palma and Al Pacino. But was it really bad enough to go up against such stinkers as Jaws 3D or The Lonely Lady? No! Not in the slightest! And hey, while we're here, let's also throw in his 1980 nomination for the Michael Caine thriller Dressed to Kill, which was well received by critics and audiences back in the day, as far as I know. But over 30 years later, Scarface has inspired numerous parodies, a few video games, and basically has become the Bible of hip-hop culture. Which goes to show that even though Tony Montana ended up dying, his story remains very much alive, and the world is still his. And now, for our #1 most undeserving Razzie nomination, the award goes to Stanley Kubrick as Worst Director and Shelley Duvall as Worst Actress for The Shining. No, you did not hear that wrong. In the first year of their existence, the Razzies did indeed have the balls to throw some shit upon one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Granted, The Shining was also another 1980s classic, not seen as much of a classic back in the 1980s. But even so, I can't imagine a Razzie voter watching Stanley Kubrick's ruthless perfectionism up on the big screen, only to merely say, "Oh dude, this sucks. This is right up there with Xanadu." Now, in the case of Shelley Duvall's performance, I can sort of see why they chose her. Duvall's portrayal of a woman in constant terror of her crazed husband has been seen as a weak point of the movie, not just by a few film critics, but by Shining author Stephen King as well, saying it was far from emblematic of the stronger character that Wendy Torrance was in his original novel. Then again, his view of a good adaptation was that shitty ABC miniseries he wrote, so advantage Kubrick. But still, in terms of the movie as just a movie and not an adaptation, I think we can agree that anyone who had to live in an isolated hotel with a husband as crazy as Jack Torrance in that movie would be shrieking and crying a good deal of the time as well. Also, the fact that Duvall got along with Kubrick during filming, as well as Taco Bell gets along with the human stomach, probably helped her perpetually scared performance be that much more authentic.
Oh, come on. What do you mean roll video?
So in light of all the hard work Kubrick and Duvall put into this movie, the way the Razzies dismissed it back in 1980 without a single afterthought just feels like a dick move. It's one of the many problems that the Razzies have, problems which they don't seem to want to fix. And yet, they're still fun to talk about. Because bad movies are fun to talk about. And before we had Mystery Science Theater 3000, the Razzies gave people a reason to have fun with these bad movies instead of feeling they wasted their money and time on these pieces of crap for no good reason. And they still do! So for that, perhaps the Razzies aren't that awful after all. Because at the end of the day, it's just someone else's opinion. And even after all the shit that I've talked about them here, I still feel compelled to salute them. But still, Last Action Hero is kick-ass. I don't care what the fuck you guys say.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
And there it is, the top 10 most questionable nominations of the Golden Raspberry Awards. And though you can't watch the Razzie Awards this weekend, you can watch Awfully Good Movies every other Wednesday here at the YouTube channel of JoeBlow.com. Until next time, I'm Jesse Shade, and this is a monkey flipping you the bird. You're welcome.
Joe Blow, he sure likes to drink a lot. Joe Blow watches movies like the hero man. Joe Blow, he's not just like the summer Hayek. Joe Blow.
Hey everyone, Jesse Shade here from Awfully Good Movies. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see me take on more good bad movies, click on any of the links you see here, or subscribe to see this show alongside all the great content that we offer here at JoeBlow.com. And remember, I love you. Wait, that sounded wrong. But I do love you though.